215 pounds is the average amount of plastic waste that an American produces each year. Now, as a single number, that might not seem too shocking or too environmentally devastating, but picture that that's the number for everybody, every man, woman, child, human living in America. And you can start to picture, oh, yeah, that's not so good, especially if some of that's getting dumped into our oceans. And this has been a big issue that we've talked a lot about on our podcast, and I've been trying to write more about as well, because I think the awareness of the impact of plastic pollution and sort of how to mitigate it or slow it and ideally eventually stop it needs to sort of be shared more in various contexts. And so what I wanted to talk about today is just an observation I've had recently in some of my beach cleaning that has really stood out to me as sort of a disturbing trend. And that is plastic pollution generated by fisher people themselves. I've been beach cleaning pretty regularly for the past few years, and there's all different types of plastic pollution in terms of its sources. I don't want to call out fisher people as worse than anyone else because they're only a small percentage of the plastic pollution generated in our world's oceans. Of course, you may remember last year there was the big straw ban trending all throughout the country. Everybody sort of got on board with that. What great people we are for banning plastic straws. Everybody cheered, and the plastic pollution crisis was solved, which was great. Except that's not quite what happened at all, because plastic straws, as far as I'm aware, only make up, I don't even think 1% of total, at least marine plastic pollution. Now, again, that's not to say that that's still not great progress and a great step in the right direction, because I can tell you firsthand, I've collected way too many straws at the beach, and those can certainly impact marine life and marine animals in very devastating ways. So it's great that that was something that sort of changed based on just people raising awareness, whether through videos online or articles written about it, and we saw actual change get done about that. But again, it's only one facet of a much larger problem and a much more comprehensive solution that's needed. So with that said, I think it's interesting when I think about the other sources of plastic pollution that I've witnessed firsthand. Obviously, I've spoken about this as well, how a lot of plastic pollution arrives to the beach and marine environments as runoff, whether through storm drains or as well just, washing down streets or whatever, tipped over garbage cans. The list goes on and on in terms of those potential sources. But there's also the pollution generated at the beaches themselves. And of course, I would say the majority of that are lazy people, tired people. You bring your kids to the beach, you've been working all week, and you rip open your packages of toys and candy and snacks and everything else, and the wind blows some away. What's the big deal? It's only one wrapper, one piece of packaging. Again, said however many hundreds of millions of people live in America and billions of people live around the world. So that starts to add up very quickly. So as much as we can, I think it's just important to be aware of that those little changes add up. And again, this is something that I've seen that has been particularly frustrating to me, specifically so far this beach clean season, this summer season. Summer's just underway. But for some reason, whatever reason, I would say more so than in previous years. I mean, again, lazy people at the beach, that's an ongoing battle. But the amount of plastic left behind by fisher people, I don't remember it ever being this bad. And that's sort of surprising to me. I'm actually as much disappointed by that as sort of shocked by it, because you would think that the last people who would want plastic waste and plastic material leaching into the environment and getting into fish would be people who are fishing. Yet I've seen, again, more so than any other season so far, all sorts of plastic waste left behind by fisher people. Primarily, the one that I see are these sort of takeout food containers or Tupperware containers for storing leftovers that are filled with what it looks like bait of some sort. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this. Please do correct me if this is something else, but that's what it seems to be. And they just seem left out in the sun on the beach all the time. I'm not quite sure why. I guess if they're done fishing, they just don't want to bring back raw, gross fish with them or clean out the containers. Or, again, I'm not judging or trying to make people feel bad about this. But, I mean, even just the other day, a few days ago, I went out and I saw maybe half a dozen of these half-filled containers. And there's been several other beach cleans I've done so far this year where I found, again, multiple containers like that. Another type of fisher people waste I find, fisher people, is that the right phrase? I guess so, are, of course, fishing lines. That's the most obvious and the most common historical one that I found. And even a lot of municipalities, a lot of town parks, local parks, whatever, have started to put up these little like pipe container things that say, please discard cut fishing lines or, disposed fishing lines, which is great because those tangle within, tidal reeds and seaweed and that sort of stuff, much like ribbons do from balloons, and just sort of tangle everything up. And, of course, that's not great either. That's often areas where, animals could otherwise use as nesting maybe, or just, it could break down in other ways. But that's also a problem too, because like rusty hooks, there's always the chance of getting cut or getting hurt with those. So that's good that's actually not, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest problem with waste produced by people fishing. It's sort of these containers that more and more are left out. And same thing with packaging. I've seen a lot of fishing packaging left out as well, little wrappers and packaging for different types of fishing gear or fishing pieces, that sort of thing. Again, just sort of left on the beach. I don't even think necessarily evilly discarded or anything like that, just sort of forgotten about. So that's just sort of what I wanted to point out in this video as well. The fact that there are many, many sources of marine plastic pollution, and in particular, of late, I've just seen more and more with fishing gear, with fishing pieces. I even found a discarded fishing rod the other day too when I was beach cleaning. It looked like the rings where you put the fishing line through were cracked or something. I don't know if that's why they just sort of left it there or whatever. I don't know what fishing poles are made out of now, maybe fiberglass or something like that, but there's certainly pieces or some amount plastic as well. Yeah, I just wanted to share that message. And if you know anybody who is a fisher, I mean, I've fished myself. I think we really need to be more cognizant of what we leave behind and try to just remember to pick up not just our own stuff, but what we see when we see other stuff discarded there. So yeah, if you are a fisher person yourself, that's just what I wanted to mention today, I guess. And if you know anybody who fishes as well, please, share this message with them. Let them know that they can make a difference, and they do make a difference. Again, we all have to try to do our part, and little changes add up to big ones. So that's all I wanted to say today. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, if I got anything wrong about anything related to plastic pollution, or again, you just have your own ideas of different ways of dealing with plastic pollution, different solutions, advice, tips, etc., please share in the comments below. And other than that, thanks for watching, and we will see you on the beach. Take care. Bye-bye.